Hey everybody, and welcome to day number 44 of the Newton Mudroom. It's reveal day. I'm not going to lie, I'm going to address the white elephant in the room. I didn't finish. I got so far, and I've got another couple of days next week that I got to come back, and I just got to do some touch-up stuff. But we've scheduled Russ here. He's our cameraman for today, and we're going to take you through. We've already turned it over to the homeowners, and I want to show you. Come on in.
We moved here from California about 8 months ago, and we really were looking specifically in Newton because of the school system and the great neighborhoods here in Newton. Really wanted a great place for Celia and Travis, our kids, to grow up. When we first came and saw the house, we loved it instantly. It had just about everything we were looking for. A great yard for the kids and Ginger, our dog, to run around. Great rooms, and a basement, playroom, lots of great space for the family. But it really was missing storage on the first floor and a place when we walk in the house to put your shoes and coats and everything. And we were concerned about the mess it would make, not having a place for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this house really had a lot that we wanted in, especially the openness of the first floor. It was sort of an old style house with some more modern details. It had been expanded a little bit just to give a little more space that we use as a closet and a play area for the kids. So it did have what we needed, except that when we had been looking for a house, one of the things that was really high on our list was having a mudroom, because we have kids, we have a dog, and a lot of these houses that were built in the time period of this house just didn't really account for the boots and the coats and the bags and the backpacks and stuff for activities and sports equipment and everything that comes with having kids today. So for us, adding a mudroom was always going to be a top priority if this was the house we ended up with. And then when we happily did, it was the first project we moved on. So as you walk in the house, you're facing the stair. It's a traditional center entrance colonial. It hasn't been modified at the entryway, since 1935. So you walk in, you're facing a stair that takes you up to the second floor. If you look to the left, there's the dining room. If you look to the right, the living room. There's a little hallway there and a little place where you could maybe drop some keys and a hat. But as far as the kind of stuff that we have as a family, there's really nowhere to put anything. There was a side door that had been added to the kitchen at some point. It was actually almost a full glass door. And we used to use it most often because that's the door that comes off of the driveway, so that when we come into the house out of the car with bags, it was the most logical place to come in. I mean, it's pretty typical in these kind of houses where the front door isn't really used. The front door, you have to go up the walkway. So when we would come in on a day-to-day basis, we would come in with a bunch of bags, a bunch of stuff, into that side door, and we would end up smack dab in the middle of the kitchen, which is a decent size, but there's no space. I mean, there's a little island in the middle, which would again end up catching a bunch of stuff that it wasn't meant to catch from the outside. And so, we wanted a better space to be able to come in, put down our stuff, and not have to, bring the mud, bring the stuff into the house.
When we saw the garage, we were really concerned about how dilapidated it was. The ceiling was falling down, the doors were broken, it was really small, and we really were wondering what the heck are we going to do with this space. really all the garage was good for was just a place to put all the unpacked stuff. Really a catch-all for everything. It was the junk room in the house, really.
We were going back and forth about building a mudroom off of the existing door and what that would mean for size and shape. And we had envisioned that we could build something off of the asphalt there and maybe extend it a little bit into the garage. But when we started really getting into it, we talked to Colored Spots Creative. Liz and Garrett came over here and we all took a look at it together. And the decision was made and the suggestion was made, which was a great one, to actually also include a door to the backyard, which would make the space really functional for us with kids and dogs coming in from the backyard. And actually that would end up becoming much more of the garage than we had envisioned. But in the end, it gave us such a functional space that it was really worth it for maybe losing a little bit more storage. So we made a point to make the storage on the other side super functional.
So they've already moved in. They've already started putting stuff in here. We knew that this is going to be a workable space. The whole point of this room is to get dirty so the rest of the house doesn't. So we've got a lot of nice things in here. We have this nice tile floor. It's a heated tile floor so the kids can come in here. It's warm on the dog's paws.
So initially what Garrett proposed was kind of a standard floor heating system that would be available at a big box store. And we came back and challenged him a little bit to try to find something that would also be compatible with a smarter thermostat system, something like the Nest system, which is what we're using in our home. So in the end, we ended up with something that was a little more special order that we got online that works and does all that we needed to do and is compatible with the smart system that we're using in the home.
One of the things that we are going to do, this is just temporary now, is they want a built-in here. So we're going to do a built-in, but it's going to be a custom piece that we're going to build them because it's going to be nice and narrow. And it's going to be a place where the kids can come and hang their stuff and where they've got little cubbies where they can put their shoes.
So our plan all along has been that we're going to finish off the mudroom by adding some custom built-ins. So the space is pretty narrow, and we also want to live with it a little bit to figure out exactly what we want there. But the plan is to, as you come in on the left side, we have a bunch of wall space there, is to build a shallow built-in that would be kind of have hooks for coats and backpacks and a space to slide in some shoes, some storage above. And so keep that shallow, and then because we do want a bench where you can sit to take off your shoes, we have a great space for that towards the back where we changed out the window. So our plan is to build in a nice deep bench there with some storage underneath. And we plan to work with Colored Spots on that to build it for us.
Yeah, Garrett did a great job on these shelves back here, so we're excited to work with Colored Spots Creators again on that project.
Now we have another narrow spot here to be sure, but if we customize it to put it up here, then it's really going to help them out in just being able to have a little extra. Because while we did put these awesome closets in here, and the colors, I'm going to be the first to say that I was wrong about the colors.
So the room is pretty neutral, so it seemed like the best place to add some color into that room were these two big sliding doors that we were going to have in there. And they were always going to be, I mean, in terms of the size of the room relative scale, they're pretty big and they dominate the room. But they would also be a nice place to play with color because, in the end, they're not that hard to repaint if we needed to. So we chose to do some really bright colors on that door. And I went all over the place with color. I was in blues and yellows, but I always wanted them to be colorful. In the end, I also wanted them to be two different colors. And so what seemed interesting to me was to do two tones of the same color. So then it was what color? And I the color's called guacamole, but to me it's more of it's an army green color, and then combining that with something like really, really punchy, which is a lime green color. So they kind of, two tones of the same color, they kind of complement each other, but also make a bold statement in the room.
I called this room a symphony of white, and it was really designed to match the rest of the house. And even when I was painting these colors, I called Karen in many times to make sure that this was the color she wanted. And it looks great in this room. I mean, it's just the splash you needed. It was a lot when the room was just white, but now that they're actually adding things in here, it's a perfect accent. And so we've got our closets, and they've already started hanging things in them. And we've got a basket, so they're starting to live with the space, and they're really just figuring it out how they want to deal with it. But it brings us to a couple of the things that we haven't done yet, and that's the kick molding that's in here. We've really just gotten enough done today so that we can get this. And we all make mistakes, and one of the biggest mistakes I'm going to show you, because that's what happens, is this door here is too small. Home Depot only makes a 36-inch door, and the space I have here is actually 40-inch. So we're going to build them a custom door to go in here so that it fits with the other one. We remember this closet over here. This was the utility closet. Well, we got our standard rail in, we got our shelves in, and now, look, they're already filling it. I mean, this was just yesterday that we turned it over to them. I gave them all their keys, and now they've already gotten all their stuff in. So they're making the most of this space, and it's a great addition to their house. Moving over, we had another built-in that's going to go here underneath the window, and they had this piece that was upstairs, and they brought it down here, and it's a shoe rack, and that's what they want here too. So, but we're going to make it into a window seat. And I told you that we're coming back to do some finishing work, and part of the finishing work is the trim around this window. It was a little bit more complicated than just putting up simple trim, since the window came in a bit smaller than the opening itself. So I'm going to pay attention and put a little detail into it, but we will finish it, and I'll get you some pictures of what that looks like. But for today, for the fact that we've got Russell here taking pictures, this is what we're showing. Coming off into the backyard, we know that we're going to come back here in the spring. Part of the reason coming back here in the spring is so that we can get a concrete pad coming off the stairs and leading into the backyard. We can't dig it right now. The ground's still frozen. And when we also gets a little warmed up, we're going to go and we're going to do some painting.
It's been kind of an interesting winter here in New England. We tended to have like a pretty nice February. We got some really warm days, and then we got hit with all of these nor'easters all at once. And so I think it was a challenge for finishing up the project. We had some days where things got postponed and moved around, and Garrett did a great job figuring that out, moving it around. And there's some, we knew this from the beginning, that there were parts of the project that were going to have to be finished off more in the spring. Outdoor work, particularly paint, where the shingles are going to get painted to match the rest of the house. There's some finishing work on the window that we replaced, and a pad for the stairs outside. And so that was clear to us to the beginning, and there's many reasons to look forward to spring this year, and one of them is for the finishing touches on the outdoor portion of the mudroom.
So we do have more trips coming back here, hopefully with some built-in orders, and just to get a lot of the painting and a lot of the finished work outside done. Now on to the mudroom. One of the rooms I can say is practically 100% finished, and it's completely wide open. So this is their storage space. They've talked about what they can put in here. They talked about recycling bins. They've talked about trash bins. They've talked about skis, or maybe I've talked about skis.
So the shed side will be storage for a lot of outdoor sports equipment, some of the yard equipment that we have. It'll be the place where we keep, for now, where we keep our garbage can and recycling bin. But I want to set something straight, having watched all the vlogs, is we actually do not own skis, so it won't be a place for ski storage, although we may now need to take up skiing after this project.
I'm picturing a pegboard rack here, I'm picturing shovels, I'm picturing outdoor gear, just stuff hung. And they were really, it was important when they came into this space that they didn't want to take the whole thing over for the mudroom. And part of the reason they didn't want to take it over was because they knew they were going to have stuff outside. And this is a great sort of just throw spot, and it's narrow, but we're going to make the most of it, again, with some nice subtle additions to it, and those additions being just pegboard and stuff to hang things on the wall. Plus, we've got our loft up here, which one of the biggest things is they've got a cargo carrier rack, and that's going to fit right up there really nicely and keep things out of the way. So I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. I think that they're happy, and this is just another great collaboration of design where it's something that I necessarily wouldn't have picked or chosen, like the color on the doors, but with the owner's input and influence, it really kind of has worked out to their advantage. So I'm happy to say that I really like the way that this turned out. We're going to get a chance to talk to them, and in talking to them, we're going to see what they think about this whole project. Particularly, we've been here for 10 weeks. It's been a total of 46 days that we've been here, and so was that disruptive? I don't know. Anytime you bring this amount of work into a project, it's bound to be disruptive in one way or the other.
I don't think that anyone loves living through a construction project. But really, as far as disruptive goes, this one was pretty minimal. I think that we did lose use of our kitchen, but really only at the very end and for about a week. So Garrett made that very clear to us when that was going to happen. We prepared by moving a lot of stuff out of the kitchen. And we were able to just coordinate meals kind of out of our dining room. We still had access to the refrigerator and the stove, so we would kind of go in and use that and come back out. And otherwise, I think maybe doing the project in the winter, there were a couple of cold spots where we would always try to patch up some insulation, put a foam board in there so that there wasn't any cold air coming into the house. But our heating bill was probably a little higher than it would have been in a typical winter. But I think that, certainly the disruption was worth it. And we were, for the most part, able to go on with our lives using the front door, coming in the front door for many weeks. And we'll be happy to have the finished mudroom available.
The vlog became must-see TV in our house. We absolutely loved it, and for me it was great because I was at work during all the times when Garrett was doing the work, so it was a way for me to catch up and follow along with what was going on the project. And it got to the point where every night after dinner we'd gather around the TV and put YouTube up on the big screen and watch it, and the kids would get disappointed if the video didn't get posted that day. So it became really exciting for us and fun.
Okay, from where we started 10 weeks ago, 44 days ago, from when there was a door here to now, there's a new entryway and a brand new mudroom. A wonderful addition to the space. The homeowners are extremely pleased with it, and it's a functional room, but it's also a very stylish room. And I think that's important in every project that anybody does. While this might not be the end of this project, I'm going to come back and finish it off. I am calling it a wrap to the Newton Mudroom project. We were here for 10 weeks and 44 days, and this is a great project. The homeowners are happy, and I'm really happy you all came along with me. I appreciate it if you leave a like and you subscribe. It really helps me to know what you guys like. We did up the game with this. We had Russ come in and just bring in his camera and really get a better feel for what the homeowners want and what you want. If you have any questions about what we did in this project, please ask. I love to respond to that, and give me some feedback, because if this is working, we're going to do a lot more of it. So from the Newton Mudroom project, thanks for watching. Please stay tuned for our next project.
Would we do a project like this again?
Absolutely. Maybe sooner.